I just selected the record button. I am recording this session, and I will put that on my website. So if you want to watch that later, you can as well. So we're going to look at some of the basics today, but I love to take my students out into the deeper waters and show you how I'm pushing the envelopes with RPR because it really is a cool technology tool. But we're going to just study really how to navigate some of the cool features and tools that you can use with RPR. So the question always comes up to me in class, well, John, what is RPR and why do we have this thing called RPR? Well, RPR it's a wholly owned subsidiary of the National Association of Realtors. And because you are a member of the National Association of Realtors, there's no additional charge for you to use the system. It's actually included with your dues dollars, so you ought to take advantage of it. There's no consumer or public access, so only realtors, members of the National Association of Realtors, can use this system. Now, it's a database, and it's a database of right now, somewhere, it changes a lot, between 160 million parcels of properties, plus or minus. And that seems kind of odd when you think, well, what do you mean by 160 million parcels of property, John? Well, I'm actually getting ready to close on a house, and I'm finding this interesting because it's happening more and more for me as a real estate professional. Most of my business is repeat and referral business. After all, I've been in the business since I was 18. I owned 3 offices and I've had a number of agents. I've been everything from a salesperson to a managing broker to just a selling broker, and now I'm a selling broker again. And so a lot of the folks that I know in my small community bought their homes in the 40s and 50s and basically just stayed there. I mean, the house I have listed right now that I'm getting ready to close on, her name's Mrs. Lee, and Mrs. Lee, uh, her and her husband bought that home, raised their family in that home, and just never moved. And so when the children call me, because I'm friends with many of them and I'm in a small community, to list mom and dad's house, naturally, in the old days, we'd go to the MLS and we'd try to see, has this house ever been for sale before? And in those instances, like Mrs. Lee, we just never had access to information about their property. I mean, we could go to the courthouse and get the legal description and those things, but as far as finding it in the multiple listing service, it just wasn't possible. Well, what we mean by this database of 166 million parcels of properties, it means properties like Mrs. Lee's that's never been in the MLS is in RPR. In fact, I can go to RPR, look up Mrs. Lee's property, and RPR will even suggest or give me a recommended list price. Now, keep in mind, that's just a computer's interpretation. It's what we call an algorithm. It takes lots of data from all kinds of sources and it puts it into a formula and it says, hey, we think the house is worth this much money. But the computer's never looked inside the home and it doesn't know if they have lots of animals or if they've updated the kitchen or bathrooms. And so that's where we get to go in as real estate professionals and use our experience, our knowledge of the marketplace, and our physical inspection of the property to really fine tune and come up with a price or an evaluation of what that property should be listed for. And that's what's so neat about RPR is that it's this technology tool that can help you and I close more transactions and look more professional. And again, it's only available for members of the National Association of Realtors. And I want to point out one other item. It says there it's delivered through a constantly evolving leading edge application. And I have the privilege and I'm fortunate to work with the RPR staff and folks that are as they're adding new tools to RPR, and I'm just blown away by how they are enhancing and making this product really one of the most cutting edge technology tools that's available for you and I. And I'm using it every day as a real estate professional. Now, I want you to know this. RPR is not an MLS, okay? It's not an MLS. It's not any kind of a consumer-facing business model. This is for you and I as members of the National Association of Realtors. They are not taking your data and syndicating it or redistributing it to other people. It's strictly a tool that's available for you and I as members of the National Association of Realtors. So how can you use RPR? Well, I use it for property details when I'm researching. I use it for accurately pricing a property. I was doing a webinar yesterday and I told the folks, I said, it's interesting. When I first started teaching RPR, and I'm going to confess my sins to everyone on the call here, I was preaching a message about RPR to the congregation, my realtor students, but I wasn't really using it as faithfully as I should have been. Because let's face it, it's a new tool. I mean, we're in a hurry. Someone wants us to come out and list a house. Oh man, I'm trying to learn how to use QuickBooks Online now, and the desktop version I can just fly around in that. And today I was doing some work with QuickBooks Online, and I'm just scratching my head. And we get confused or discouraged. But I've told myself I've got to learn QuickBooks Online, and that's what I did with RPR several years ago when I was standing in front of groups teaching it. I kept saying to myself, John, you've got to use it consistently if you're going to stand up there and tell people about it. So I use it to price properties. I'm telling you 99% of the time. I very rarely go into my MLS except when I'm putting a new listing in or updating it that it's under contract, sold, or price changes. I mean, I just use RPR because it's a great tool to help me price properties. I can farm and prospect. I'll show you some things that I think are just really interesting to do. And you can impress buyers and sellers with your reports. You get an 85-page plus or minus, depending on the comps and the location, report that you can give to customers or clients. Now, some of you are already shaking your head and you're already upset with me saying, John Mayfield, I would never give an 85-page report to a client or go over an 85-page report with a client. And I don't either. I go over the high points on my iPad. I use an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil. I highlight, I circle, I make notes at their kitchen table, and then I email them a copy right from my smartphone, and I'll show you how that works a little bit later if we have time. And they get the report, they print it out, and they're blown away. I mean, I hear my clients tell me when I'm at their kitchen table writing up the listing agreement, tell me, John, that report you did was awesome. And my competitors take out 2 or 3 pages from the MLS. So when we say you can impress buyers and sellers with the reports, I'm telling you, you can. You really can. And that goes along with the next bullet point. You'll stand out at a listing presentation, an open house, and so much more. Now, I have 2 more slides, and we're going to get right into RPR, and I'm going to show you how it works, okay? But we need to understand a little bit about an AVM and an RVM. And I think this really kind of is the whole reason RPR exists, if you ask my opinion, because we've had this concept out in the marketplace for some time now called an automated valuation model, an AVM. Remember when I told you earlier that RPR, the computer, calculates a price for Mrs. Lee's house and told me what the price should be listed for. And by the way, I used that price. That RVM was about $4,000 or $5,000 off from the actual sales contract we got on her house that we're getting ready to close. So it came in pretty close. And even after I made my fine tuning adjustments, we were right in the ballpark. But I told you that was just a computer. The computer doesn't know if one side of the street is Central School District, and the other side of the street is North County School District. And Central School District may be a very highly in demand school system. Well, the computer, it's pulling comps, but it doesn't know that kind of information. The computer doesn't know if properties are flying off the shelf. And again, the computer has no idea if you go in the house and there's uh, 17 cats that are running around everywhere, and you're trying to get out of the house as fast as you can because you can't breathe. The smell's so bad. I mean, we've all been in those situations. So it's an automated valuation model, and it's not accurate in a lot of situations. In fact, in Missouri, we're a non-disclosure state, so a lot of times AVMs are not very accurate. However, they're popular, they're in demand, and let's just face it, the computer and the internet and what people find online is a part of our business model today. So the National Association of Realtors realized we got to do something about this. First of all, if you'll notice, if we were in class right now, and I'm going to just circle this so you'll see this. If you look at an AVM, it's only public information. Therefore, it's not going to be as accurate as perhaps the realtor's valuation model or the RVM. Now, why is there a difference? Well, let's look down here. The RVM uses public information, but what else do we get to use? The MLS. We've got our formula has more data and more information than the competitor's data. So therefore, ours is hopefully has a higher degree of accuracy, and it's a better valuation product. And that's really the whole purpose of RPR. And I believe why it came about is because there have been a lot of these automated valuation models in the marketplace that people rely on and believe they're accurate when in terms they could be really way off base. And I have lots of stories and examples I could share with you, but I know you want to see how RPR works. And that's what we're going to get in and do right now. So I'm going to move this presentation out of the way, and we're going to go right into RPR and take a look at the dashboard. I do want to point out, I'm going to use my little drawing tool to point out a few things for you here. This is where you would go into your preferences, the little gear icon, and that's where you would add your logo, add your photo, make sure that your information is correct and accurate for your reports. And also, that's where you would put your username and password and change some of that. So that's right up there with the gears icon. We're going to focus most of our attention right here. Okay, this is the main dashboard. I was telling a group yesterday, I probably never use those buttons at all. I mean, they're there. You could use them. I do use reports. I use the home screen a lot. But basically, I'm doing most of my work down here. And when I need to go back up, I just select the home screen. It brings me back to this screen we're looking at, and then I can get to work on what I need to do. Now, let's point this out. All of your recent properties are going to be here, as well as your recent searches. Now, these are for 30 days or so, and your recent reports. They're not going to be there indefinitely, but you can always go and pull those up at any time you need to. And what's really cool is that if we look at these recent properties and recent searches, you'll notice that it will give you a little this is a desktop. It gives you a little computer screen or monitor there. Now, if I go and scroll down a little bit further, notice here, this is a search that I did on my mobile phone. And so you can determine whether you did your search on your mobile phone or your desktop. And the really neat thing is RPR keeps everything in sync. So if I'm looking at this property right here, that I just did yesterday on my computers on my computer screen. If I logged into my RPR smart mobile app on my smartphone, this recent property will be right there. The other day, I was going to look at a piece of property for some people, and I looked up everything on my desktop computer, and I got in my car and I took off. And then I thought, holy, I looked at my calendar because I normally always put the street address in my calendar in my smartphone. So I'm out in the driveway before I left, and I didn't have the address of the property, and I was going to have to go back inside to get the address. I said, wait a minute. I pulled my smartphone. My smartphone was already out. I went into the RPR app. I went into recent searches. I saw the property, clicked on it, and the RPR app even has directions for me. And so I hit the directions button, and it started talking to me. My Siri did, and started navigating me to the property. So it's really a handy tool, and you'll love the smartphone as well when you start looking at it. So we're going to do the bulk of our work right here in the app, okay? Now, I want you to look right here. We have a menu entitled All Properties. We also have a menu entitled For Sale. I want you to think in terms, if you're searching all properties, that you're searching the county courthouse records, because all properties will have all of the data that's available to RPR for your zip code or your community or where you're searching, but it will include properties like Mrs. Lee's, right? That wasn't ever in the MLS. If you search under for sale, it's actually like you're mirroring the MLS. Sometimes I have people that they'll get very excited after the webinar, and I'll get an email or a phone call from them, and they'll say, John, I was so pumped up and excited after your webinar today, and I had this listing appointment, and I went in, and I can't find the property. I typed the address in, and I'll ask them, is the property currently for sale? And they'll say, no, it's not for sale right now. And I'll say, did you search for under for sale or all properties? And they'll say, oh, I forgot. They were searching under for sale, and the property's doesn't come up. So if you search under all properties, that will normally stop that issue or problem. The other thing you need to be familiar with is the Advanced tab, because sometimes I have people, especially over in my area, we have a lot of these HCR routes where, like, see this, where it's HCR number B25 Aurora, Missouri. Well, it's kind of that old garbage in, garbage out, and they may type in number B25 HRN, and they maybe get the zip code or spell something wrong. What you could do in this example is select the Advanced tab, and then, now you have to be under all properties for this, okay? If it's for sale, it doesn't notice the menu changes. But under all properties, if you're looking for a property that has a weird address, type in the weird address, hit the Advanced tab, and then type in the owner's last name. And it will normally, 99% of the time, find that property. So sometimes I've had people that will tell me in class they're trying to find their property, they can't find it, and it's a strange mailing address. When we put the exact same mailing address in, the exact way they did it, and I select Advanced and I put their last name in, 99% of the time it'll pull their name up. So just kind of remember that you have this advanced tool that you can use. And I want to point one other thing out that I think is interesting about this. RPR now, and this is a new enhancement we came up with, it's looking at properties that are in the database. So if you're under for sale and you go to HCR, these are properties that are actively listed in the MLS. Now, there are properties in Missouri and Arkansas where I do some training, but I just want you to know this is really beneficial for me. I'm using it more and more versus my MLS because I know the properties listed at 70 1, and I can go right down here to the property. I think this one is 701 West Wind, right here, so I can go right to the property. And I select that and hit search, and that property comes right up for me. So that's a new tool. It's going to look at your MLS. It will auto-populate listings that are currently listed with the street address you type in. Now, you can also go to the Advanced tab, and you can change things here. So if you just really want to search single-family properties, you can do that. You can kind of look through all of these. We do have a keyword search, which is great for some of you who live next to a lake and you want to type lakefront, or if you're a river, or at Lake of the Ozarks, they have mile marker numbers that they put in their listings. You can type in mile marker number and get results that way. You can also, as you begin to get your search results, notice on the left-hand side of the screen, right down here, over here on this side, I have the ability to change any of my parameters. So as you scroll up or down, you're going to find lots of options that you can use and change, and change those right on the fly as you're within a search. So if you need to come down, you want to add a keyword or take a keyword away, you can do that. By the way, it'll search up to, I think, 5 keywords now. Very, very handy and beneficial. And here's my results for Scottsdale, Arizona. I can sort these by most expensive, least expensive. I normally like to sort by recently updated, and I can also sort the number of results I want to be looking at on a page at one time. I can also go into the bigger map over on the side here. So now I'm able to look at these properties for that specific location that I chose, in this case, Scottsdale, Arizona. If I wanted to do optional searches, I can search by zip codes or school districts. By the way, as you zoom in, you will notice that you have more geographical searches. As I zoom out, they may be less or more. And so I can continue to search in those parameters. If I want to draw a map around a subdivision, now this is something that I use a lot. Let's just say that I'm going to go down here, and let's say this is a very nice subdivision. Looks like it might be on a golf course. And you want to own that area. I mean, you want to start farming and prospecting that area, because when anyone lists a property in that subdivision or that area, it sells. So the first thing I want to do is draw my map around that area. I would take my time and draw that out. And the second thing you want to do is select Save, and then give it a name. So I'm going to call this Golf Club Estates. Okay. Now I'm going to select OK. So I've saved this search by Golf Club Estates. I can go on and search in that area and look at the properties, but watch what happens when I go to the home screen. So now I'm up on the home screen. I'm going to go to right over here where it says saved, right here, this little area, and I want to use that drop-down box right there. Okay, so I'm going to select the drop-down box, and I'm going to scroll down below and look, there's Golf Club Estates right there. So let's highlight that and pull that up. I get all of the activity going on in Golf Club Estates. I mean, there's some heavy hitters there. $5 million property, $4 million property. And think about this. If you lived in that subdivision and you had a home that you owned, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in your subdivision? Most people do. I mean, it's one of the biggest investments a lot of people have. And we're nosy. We're a nosy group of people, aren't we? I mean, we're just inherently, they're curious what other things are going on in their neighborhood. So I have this map drawn around Golf Club Estates in Scottsdale. I'm going to go up to Reports. Remember, I told you I was going to take you out in some deep waters here, so this is not basic stuff. We're kind of going out in some deep waters. It's already saying, the computer says, you know, John, I bet since you pulled up that Golf Club Estates market activity, I bet you're wanting to do a market activity report. And I'm like, thank you, computer. You're exactly right. And here, if we select more details, it says, do you want to go back the last month, the last 3 days, the week, 3 months? And I say, you know, I want to go back the last month. All of these boxes come pre-checked. But I say to the computer, you're really kind and nice, and I appreciate you doing that much work for me, but I don't want these people to know about expired listings, and I really don't want them to know about open houses because I want them to contact me, right? So I now come down and I select Run Report. Now, RPR is going to do its magic. It's going to create this really cool report for Golf Club Estates, and it tells me, it will give me a pop-up message when it's ready, and that goes away, and I can go back and I can continue to work in RPR while the report is populating. Now, what I can do with that report, and I'll show you that here in a moment, is I can put that on my website, mayfieldre.com/Golf Club Estates. And I can send postcards to all of those people in Golf Club Estates saying, want to know what's going on in the real estate activity in your subdivision? Go to my website, www.mayfieldre.com/Golf Club Estates. You want to make it easy and find out the latest, download my latest report. They come over here and they download the report. You want a box on there, so maybe they'll opt in to receive it every month. In fact, tell them that on the postcard. I won't send you this postcard every month, so be sure and sign up, and you'll receive this via email. And now I have, this is an activity, this is really more of an neighborhood report for Farmington, Missouri on my website. But now I have this really cool digital magazine that I've created that I can share via email. I can put that on my LinkedIn, Facebook. I can tweet things out and I want to drive them over to my website, right? Because what we want them to do is land here. And when they land here, they may click the home button and they might start looking for a property, or they may find a house on here they want more information about, and they can contact me and I can make a closing or a new client and a sale. So this is a program I use. It's from a company called Flip Builder. I don't make any fees off of them. I just wanted to show you. And by the way, you could do this same concept, and when you drive them over here to your website, just put a video and do a green screen. I've seen some agents do things like that. And so now you can tell the story in a video format and also have the report that they could download below. But the key is you're trying to make folks look at you and make you become the expert and get them to want to think of you when they think of real estate. So here's the report. It's probably done now. So this, again, is a market activity report for a specific subdivision that you could farm. And this is all done in RPR, and it's free to you. They can see what's going on in the market. It packages it up with the active listings, with properties that are sold. And if they're thinking about listing or selling their home, they may want to give you a call and have you be their next agent. So that, again, is what we did. Was we went into RPR and we went into this bigger map. Now, I pulled a property up for us that we want to look at, and we kind of want to walk through and do some adjustments on this property. And somebody's trying to call me, so I'll put that off. So I want to go into this bigger map here, and this allows you to look at your property that's under evaluation, the subject property, and it also allows you to look at within your marketplace all of the properties that are either for sale or which have recently sold. Now, what's interesting about this, I think, is how we are able to go into an area that we're doing a listing on and really fine tune and go into a property and look at the property we're appraising and also look at all of the activity that's going on right around that property. So a lot of times sellers will tell me, well, we heard our neighbor down the street sold their house for $470,000, and I pull it up and I say, was it this property right here, 6920? And the other spouse says, yeah, I think that's their address. And I say, well, it sold for 405,000. And I've literally had this example that I've been able to show people as I've been out on listing appointments pricing properties. So that is from that bigger map and smaller map, which is right over there on the side. Now, down below, you're going to like this feature here because we have what are called heat maps. And if you use the drop-down arrow right there, you'll be able to go in and you can overlay heat maps in the neighborhood. So if I do a 12-month change in estimated value, I'm now able to look at this property and I'm able to see, are property values going up or are they going down? And by looking at underneath the heat display, it will tell me what's going on in the neighborhood. It looks like to me this property is kind of maybe right around, it's maybe been kind of stable or flat over the last 12 months. There's a little pocket of increase. But I want to tell you what, I've had some sellers who've literally been a little discouraged. I don't know if you have sellers who get discouraged when you tell them what their house might be worth and they get a little mad at you. I've had some sellers who didn't understand why I didn't come up with a higher price. And when I showed them their home and all around their home was dark red, and I showed them what was going on, they understood what I was up against and why I came up with the price I came up with. Now, some of you are saying, I know there's somebody out there, because there always is, that says, well, now, where do they get that information? I mean, what's the source of that? Everything in RPR is footnoted. So if you look right here, there's an About screen. When I select the About, it will actually tell me where that information came from and how long, I'll slide that over, it's been updated quarterly. So you can see there are some really great heat maps available. There's another heat map that I use a lot for flood zones, and it will tell me if this property is in a flood zone or near a flood zone. It's not. Again, if I want to select the About button, it tells me they're pulling that from FEMA and it's updated annually. So all of this data is footnoted and marked in RPR, and there's some really neat overlays you can use. I'll be honest with you. I want to be very upfront with you. If you're in a smaller community like I am, some of those areas may not be quite as, or heat overlays may not be quite as meaningful. I find the 12-month change in value works good for my area, the flood maps. But if you're in a larger city or a bigger area like Houston, I think you'll find some of those heat overlays will be very powerful for you in a presentation. Now, very quickly, you have the ability to do a drive time. So if I want to say they like this house, but they want to know how far is it for them, to get to work or whatever, you have the drive time capability. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed that, but I can literally do a drive time by walking. I was doing a webinar yesterday for some folks at Springfield, Missouri. There's a big university there. Walking distance to the campus is very important. So you could place your icon on the college campus, maybe the building that they're going to be walking to the most, and then change this to walking and say they want to be within a 10-minute walk of the university. Boom, you can immediately look for properties in that area that are available. So you have drive time by day, by day of the week and time of the day. You have walking as well. You can also do distance. I've got a little young guy who works at the fire department here, and he has to live, according to their rules, he has to live within 5 miles of the fire department. I can now save this as a search and go in, check on properties for him, and look at that as well. You can do box searches. I did a polygon search. You can do a radius search. Lots of searches. And then don't forget you have these other drop-down items that are available today. It's just mind-boggling to me, all the information we have that's right there at our fingertips. And I go back to the days when we had an MLS that was a 3-ring binder. So here we are on this property we pulled up on Scottsdale, Arizona. We could be working with a buyer or a seller, doesn't matter. All of these tools apply to you and how you can use them. I mean, I'm going to show you two quick things now. Let's just say you're working with a buyer. Well, this house is listed for $539,900. The RVM's only $455,000. I mean, we're $80,000 plus or minus off. Do I, as a buyer's agent who has a fiduciary obligation to my client, do I want to recommend they pay $539,000 for that house? The answer is probably not, until I can look at the house with them and do some comparables. And if I know what's going on in the marketplace, if I know that houses are listed today and there's 15 offers before the end of the day, then yeah, that price might be realistic. There are some markets like that. I practice real estate in Florida, and I know the Sarasota market at times has been very, very hot like that. And so if we have any folks on the call from some of these locations, you may bump that price up quite a bit. But in reality, if the market's just normal and everything else is normal, I would have a problem with my buyer wanting to pay $539,000 for this. Now, if I'm an agent trying to list this house and they tell me they want $539,000, you know what? It's probably I'm just putting dead wood on the ship. And sometimes we got to get the dead wood off the ship, don't we? So it can help you in either way. Now, we have lots of work to do, and you'll notice we're going to go over and refine the value, and we're going to run a comp, and we're going to come up with our own price on this here in just a second. Now, it's giving me a 5-star confidence rating, which is good. It's telling me the RVM's dropping a little bit over the last 12 months and the last month. I can connect to zip forms. I love this feature. I did a contract the other day. I hit this. It logged me into zip forms, and most of the information was populated into zip forms. I just had to add the buyer's name, the earnest money, the few other details about the transaction. We've got a property analysis for investors. So if you have investors who buy and sell properties and they want to know what kind of return on their investment, really an awesome tool, and it's free. And of course, you can get more training right there as well. Now, as we go on down, remember I told you about the heat maps. So you've got lots of heat maps available. I have the listing agent information. I've got photos. I can look at the historical records, and I love this feature because a lot of times I want to go in and I see this house on the left is our current listing, but I want to go back and see that, this house was listed back in 2004. Naturally, the photo's not there, but it was it sold for $339,000 back in 2004, and I can go back and I can look at all of the information. In fact, I can even find out that in 2004, Doug Johnson had it listed. Lauren has it listed today. I've got all of the information right here. And so this is a really cool tool. We have this in our MLS, but it doesn't lay it out in a format where I can look at them side by side. So if it's ever been listed in your MLS, going back as long as the records were available and were not purged, those will come up. And that's right over here on the right-hand side. We can add notes, and this works with this works really good with a mobile phone. I can even include a seller's proceeds example for my customer. So that will be printed into the reports, which is handy. I've got the homeowner facts, the information that's here. I've got public facts, listing facts. If I need to make changes, I can make those changes. And what changes I make in RPR stays in my RPR. Again, take advantage of these sections where you can include notes. I think they're very handy. I use this graph a lot. It helps me tell a story to both buyers and sellers. And here's how I use this map. I uncheck the county. I want to get rid of the county and the state. I really want to boil this house down to the subject property and the zip code that it falls within. So here's my subject property, but here's the median estimated home value in that market. That may be why that property is listed as high as it is, because for that location at 539,000 or whatever it is, that still is way under what other homes are going for in that marketplace. So that's a good example. One time I had a house recently, the sellers were way up here, their price, and the median income was way down here in my marketplace. I wanted to show them this graph because I wanted them to see just how high out of the marketplace they were for the type of home they had. And I told them, it's not that people don't buy homes in that price range in this zip code. It's just that they're far and few between. And if we find a buyer who makes an offer, you need to just say, John, where do we sign? I mean, basically, that's what I was trying to do. And but it helps you lay out a story and explain some things there for your customer and client. Now, as we scroll down, I can see price changes, lots of information. I get location details. I get a walkability score. A lot of people are concerned and want to know more about that today. I can find out information about any of the school districts. In fact, RPR's linked to Great Schools reports, so I can get reports from that school. I can get test grades. And so if the people say, we're really concerned about this high school, you just select the high school. It will take you over to the Great Schools rating. And now you've got all of the information about Great Schools, reviews. And if you'll notice, I'm going to scroll back here so I can stay on this property. If you'll notice at the top, if we go back to I'll just jump over one while I go back over here. If I went over here to the home button, you'll notice schools is one of the options. So you can even search by schools there. So back on this property, I've got legal description. In this MLS, they have the plats, so I can download the plat. I even have access to the mortgage records. Now, some MLSs, some communities, you may not have that on certain properties. I'm finding it more and more on properties in my area, but it's great information to know and have. I have tax information. And so all of that is right here. I've got access to the schools over here, charts and graphs. And look at this. We're only on tab 1. If we go to tab 2, we get lots of history information. I use this in my MLS, and I won't mention the name of the MLS. It's a very popular MLS, but if you want to get sold information, I mean, it's like jumping through hoops and crawling under the ground and rolling over and then, saying pretty please. I mean, it's a nightmare. And I keep trying to ask, how do I find sold information back several years ago for a property? Well, I have to go over and click a button, and I have to put greater than 4,000 days, to go back enough days. And then, well, lo and behold, I find all these properties and I dig through and find the one I'm looking for. No more. In RPR, I sound like somebody on QVC trying to sell a product, don't I? No more. Hey, in RPR, you just go to the home screen, type the address and the owner's name, property pops up. I go to the history tab, and I go right over here to prior transactions, and all of the prior sales transactions are right there. And so, I mean, used to it would take me 5 minutes or longer to find prior sales transactions for a listing. Today, I can go into RPR, and I mean within less than 20 seconds, depending on the internet speed, I'm looking at all the prior sales transactions right from my computer. We can go down, we can look at previous tax information. I mean, all of the mortgage information. If it was a pre-foreclosure, we'd have that information there as well. I can still access comparable records for the MLS on this chart. I can go over to more charts right here. If you want to have more charts and data and information, just select the home charts tab right there, and you've got lots of information there. Now, I want to go over to the home refined value, because this is a really excellent tool for you to use. And the two tools that I want to focus on are right here in the middle. We just added this one last week. And so this is on needed improvements. And this one is based on any home improvement your client or customer, soon to be client, has performed on the property. So you go out to the house, you visit with the sellers, they walk you around, you sit at the kitchen table, and I normally do my RPR report right with them. I show them the price, and I tell them it's a computer, and I explain to them that I need to go in and make some adjustments. And I jump over to this page. I'm on my iPad Pro, and I have this page right up. And I say, I noticed you did, looks like you remodeled the bathroom. When did you do the bathroom, and about how much did you spend on that? And you've got to see their eyes light up when you're taking an interest in them. And so I'm going to do mid-range. These folks told me they did this in June of 2014, and she said they spent $3,000 on it. So I add the $3,000, I add the date they did that, and look right up here. It gave them $1,400 for improvements. Now, if anytime I want to remove that improvement, I can do that, but it's actually now showing that you're taking an interest in what they've done to their property, and you're giving them credit for those improvements. If your competitor's not doing that, who are they going to remember? I think it's going to be you, because you're taking an interest in them. I'm reminded about Dale Carnegie's statement that he made so many years ago. You can win more friends in 2 months by showing them you're interested in them than you can in 2 years by trying to get them interested in you. So use this tool. It's very effective. And then the new tool we just added, which is on needed improvements. If they need a new roof for the property and it's going to cost $10,000, I can add that, and it's now going to subtract $10,000 from all of that, because they're going to have to put that cash out to redo the roof. So I can make adjustments. I can make adjustments to the marketplace. If the market's very hot, I can do that. It looked like the market was maybe right around average because it was dropping a little bit there, so we can move that down. If the home exterior condition is nice, I can slide this up. If it needs some work inside, I can slide that down. Same way with lot size, view, and privacy. remember I said you get to use your experience, your knowledge, and your physical inspection of the property to fine-tune the RVM. So now we get a number, and we're going to just go over to comp analysis. So when we're in comp analysis, we're going to do 5 quick steps. We're going to confirm the facts. 9 times out of 10, you will just confirm that and close. If you need to make changes, you can. You want to find your comps. So we're going to look for our comps. I would leave this alone right here. So here we want to select search, and RPR is going to search for properties within the map area here. Now all I have to do is choose the comps I want. And this is where you know the marketplace better than the computer. It may have picked some properties that are not very good. In fact, you could say these with the star, they were used for the RVM. And you could say, I've been in both those houses. They don't look anything like the property that I'm appraising. This one does. This one does. And then I can go down, and I also have actives that I can include, and pendings or pre-foreclosures. And now we're going to go, sorry about that, right up here to update the valuation and close. And our last step is to adjust the comps. Now, if you need bigger pictures like me, you can hit bigger photos. And again, this is where you're using your experience and your knowledge. So you could say, that house looks a lot nicer than my property. Look what's happening. The computer's making all the adjustments for you. This one's, I haven't been in this property, so I'll just scroll through and look at some of the pictures. Yeah, that looks pretty much similar to the house I'm under. So does this one. And I'll go over to my next batch. And here you're going to say, well, this house is right down the street. This is almost identical. You know what? I want to put this in the first position. And now that property is going to show up over here in the first position. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to add some notes and tell them this property is almost identical to your house, and it's sold for this property. This is the one I'm going to be circling and using my Apple Pencil in my iPad because I want to take note to them. In fact, I'm going to probably zoom in on that with pinch my finger so we can zoom in, and I want them to see that price and what it sold for. And now that I have all of my notes and all of my information, I update the valuation and close, and I can change this price if I want by selecting edit, or I can leave that alone and I create my report. Now I have the ability to uncheck pages or check pages. I leave them all alone and I just run the report. I want the big report because I want the seller to see that I did a lot of work for them. Well, I didn't do a lot of work. RPR did the grunt work, but I wanted I want to stand out amongst the other agents that are going out there. I want them to remember my report over the 2 or 3 pages my competitor takes. So I can go on and work in RPR. One of the things that I love about RPR is the neighborhood reports. So I have access to all kinds of data on reports about housing, about people, about the economy, about the quality of life. I mean, lots of information. And again, I can put that on my website and create a book like this. And when people are relocating to my location, I can send them a link and have them download my latest report. Or I can email them this report. I can email this report to human resource managers because the neighborhood report's right up here. So you can do that. I can get school reports. I can get a mini property report for open houses. again, everything's in sync with the mobile phone. So when I get a report, I go over it on my iPad or my computer, and then when we're done, I pull my smartphone out, pull up the report, and email them the report. So I have lots of reports that I can do through RPR. I have the ability, if I go up and select commercial up here where residential is now, I'm on the commercial side. And by the way, we just released last week the commercial mode for the RPR app. And so now, at any time that I want to go into the commercial RPR app, I want to show you this real quickly. I'm going to do a little bit of technology here. So we'll hope everything goes well. And I need to bring my iPhone over here so you can see it. So I'm going to go into my RPR app right here. And all of the searches, the reports I've done in the last 30 days are stored on my RPR app. So while I'm at the client's home or customer's home, soon to be client, and I say, you know, we've gone over this RPR report, we did this at their kitchen table on my iPad or on your computer. You don't need an internet connection with your iPad or your computer because you just pull your phone up. And so watch what happens when I go down to recent down below and I go over to reports. There's that report right there on 69th Street we just did, and I can share that report via email, and it's ready to go to them, and they can print out the 85 pages. Now, here's the other really cool thing about the RPR app. I can go into the profile setting in the top left corner, and under user settings, look at this. I can go into commercial mode. I'll save that. And now I have the ability to search commercial properties in my location. I have access to really cool reports that are available for commercial. And as I'm meeting clients or business associates out in the field and they want to know what's going on in the commercial arena, I have my commercial app that's available for me right there as well. So be sure and download the mobile app. There are some awesome things you can do with it. You'll love it. Again, you can access commercial on the desktop right up here. Here's where you can access the RPR mobile from your smartphone. We have some RPR mobile classes we do just like this one. You want to be sure and sign up for those. And to do that, you would go down here to the bottom and you would select blog right there. And when you select blog, you're going to come out here and you can look up information by, if you're a broker, an appraiser, an MLS association, by your segment. You can go to training, and here's where you can sign up for video learning, online workshops, and so much more. So I hope this has been helpful for you. There is so much more I could show you. I mean, I love RPR. It really, I get excited about every time I start using it. I get excited when I show other agents about how to use it. You can search neighborhoods and all the areas. I didn't even show you like market activity report, which we should have, but you can actually, did you know, you can actually search just distressed properties in a specific location, city, zip code, county, and so forth, just by going to market activity. And everything's color coordinated, so you'll be able to tell if a house is pending or sold or active and so forth. If at any time you ever need help, go to the help, type in what you need help with. I want to show you what I help with is the release notes. And so I'm going to go over here to the release notes, and we give you a list of all the new things that are coming down every month. So you can also find that out at the blog out here when you select the blog. And you can also find that out on the help screen as well. So if you're in RPR, just select help, support. You can also find that through the help app. But our help support's great 24/7, 365 days a year, and they're all located right in Nebraska. So right over here under Getting Started, I believe is where we have it. Lots of information there, the webinar schedule. So thank you so much. You've been a great group. I hope this was helpful. And again, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to businesstechguy.com, and I'm going to show you where I will put this recording. If you want to rewatch it, you are welcome to, as well as some other recordings I've done. If you go down to Resources and RPR, I am putting most of my recordings that I've done for some groups right here. So I'll post this within the sometime today, and you can watch this session again. And we've got some other sessions I've done here as well. But thank you so much. You're welcome to call me, email me if you have any other questions. You've been a great group, and I hope that you go out and list or sell a house today. Thanks again. Have a great day.